Hello and welcome to the Higher Expectations podcast with the Higher Advantage Real Estate. You'll hear from Ron, Josh, and Michael, a multi-generational family of real estate experts in Southern California. We'll uncover valuable gems on how to grow your wealth, enjoy life, and spread a little bit of positivity and inspiration along the way. I'm your host, Ron Higher, and my very special guest today is Andy Ward. Thank you for coming on to the show.
Thanks for having me, Ron.
All right. So Andy and I go way back. We actually went to the same high school, not at the same time, but Paraclete High School was where we went to school. Yep. And Andy works for a Thompson Von Tungeln estate planners, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And before you were an attorney and you grew up in the Antelope Valley, tell us a little bit about that.
So I was born and raised here. Born in Antelope Valley Hospital, attended Sacred Heart School.
Wow.
Then went to Paraclete, graduated in 93, went to Antelope Valley College. I was playing football there, and that's where I met my wife, Autumn, absolute most wonderful wife I could have.
Excellent.
I have an amazing 12-year-old daughter, Emma. But from AV College, went to small school up in Oregon called Linfield College. So I continued playing football up there. I was just lucky, blessed that they found me. Never had heard of that school, but it's an amazing school. Graduated from there, came back to the Antelope Valley, was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of funny how, you know, I think it's God can leave you in a lot of different paths. And so when I was at Linfield, I got into a speech minor kind of accidentally. And as part of that minor, I had to write for the school newspaper. Uh-huh. I had no interest in writing for a newspaper, but it was a requirement for the minor. So I said, well, okay, I'll do it. So I wrote for the school newspaper for a year, got out of school, had no idea what I wanted to do. So I came back to the Antelope Valley, started putting out some job applications and put one into the Antelope Valley Press. Oh. And so they hired me as a reporter. And so I was a reporter for the AV Press for a year. Absolutely amazing job, learned so much, met some really amazing people, a lot of them that are still here today. And that's when I decided to go to law school.
Very good, very good. Now, and your dad was an attorney for, what was the name of that?
It was McAlizzi, Schwabacher, Ward, and Ward.
Okay.
And so, yeah, he was a practicing attorney out here for, 55, 60 years.
Uh-huh.
And so I worked with him for over 20 years total. So that was an amazing experience. He and I, we've always had, just the closest relationship. We were essentially best friends.
That's nice.
So it was just an amazing opportunity to work with him for all those years.
Excellent, excellent. And then you, what type of law was that? There was a combination of different types of laws, right? And then you moved to Thompson Von Tungeln,
yep.
And you're an estate planning firm in general. And then what do you do as an estate planner?
So at the old firm, McAlizzi Schwabacher, that's kind of the shortened version. Try to spell it.
Right.
But we did a little bit of everything. We had quite a few attorneys there. I focused on family law. I did some criminal defense, some civil litigation. My dad did a lot of real estate work, business litigation, contract work, things like that. We did some estate planning, but I didn't do any of the estate planning at the old firm. So it was when we closed the McAlizzi firm, my dad and I knew we were going to kind of wind it down. And so I knew Kevin. It's kind of a funny story how everything is really circular. Uh-huh. So I've known Kevin Von Tungeln. He's the principal attorney at Thompson Von Tungeln. I've known him since high school. And when he originally got out of college, his first job was at the McAlizzi Schwabacher firm. And so that's when I got to know Kevin. I was in high school. I didn't get to know him all that well, but I knew of him. He eventually left, joined Mark Thompson, and so that's where they created Thompson Von Tungeln. It's Mark Thompson, Kevin Von Tungeln. They were always two of the most highly respected attorneys in town.
Yeah.
And so my dad and I were talking about it. What are we going to do? Especially, what am I going to do? that Michelsi Schwabacher firm was in a big building. I didn't really want to be there all by myself. And so we had talked about, hey, it would be a great idea to join up with Kevin. And so Kevin and I, we just happened to be sitting in court together one day. And I just leaned over and I said, hey, Kevin, what do you think about joining forces? And so from there it took off. That was probably about 7 years ago. So I joined the Thompson Von Tungeln firm and I've been ecstatic about it ever since. This area of the law, I love it. It's amazing. We're creating estate plans for people, handling trust administrations when people pass away. We're also handling probates, and we'll go through all of those things today.
Yeah.
But the neat part of what we do is every day we're helping people.
Oh, yeah.
And so estate planning is a critical piece, something that everybody needs, whatever level you are financially. And so it's, I go into work every morning just wondering, who am I going to be helping today? How am I going to help them out? So it's just really a neat feeling.
It is. I'm going to go back a ways. So years and years ago, my wife and I had our trust put together when my sister was working for Mark Thompson at the office before Kevin was there.
Yeah.
So it's been around a long time. And anyway, I just thought that was kind of, not ironic, but kind of cool. And then we just recently had it updated, and we'll get into other stuff like that, how often someone should update their trust. So if someone is, first of all, how would somebody even know if they need a trust?
So that's a great question. A lot of people during different phases of their lives, when they're younger, they might think, well, I don't have many assets. I don't need, an estate plan. And the answer is it depends. And I hate that answer. A lot of lawyers will give it to you.
I like that answer. I use it too.
But it really does depend. But yeah, let's kind of break it down, because let's say, let's go to the youngest age. Let's say you're a parent and you've got a child who's going to be going into college. So now they're an adult. So you've lost all the ability to make decisions for them. And so what happens if something happens to that child? They go off to college, they get injured. Well, now you can no longer make their medical decisions for them. So that's where that advanced healthcare directive is critical. That's going to be nominating the parents, that the child has to do it, but the child would be nominating parents to make medical decisions. And then, there's HIPAA authorizations. HIPAA laws prevent medical staff from sharing your medical information with anybody. So imagine being a parent where you've got a really stringent doctor saying, well, HIPAA law says I can't share your information. That's where you need that HIPAA authorization in place. And there's a nomination of conservator form in case a conservatorship is needed. So even at the youngest age, estate planning can be important. If you own a home as you're getting older, having a trust is critical. You want to avoid probate, and we can get into all that in a little bit of detail later. But other assets can trigger probate as well, not just a house. And so no matter where you are and what stage of your life, come in and talk to us, and we can talk you through what you need, where you're at, and fit you into what fits you, depending on what situation you're in.
Yeah, so that leads me to that another question. What goes into a trust? So I heard that the healthcare directive would be a part of it, but as far as assets go, what goes in there? Maybe something else other than assets go in there. I don't help us out.
Yeah, so that's another good question. So traditionally, if you own properties, those need to go into the trust because that's going to avoid a probate, and that's the difference between a trust and a will. And so a lot of people think, hey, I got a will. I'm great. I'm cool. I got it all set up. But one of the I don't know, it's kind of corny, but one of the critical things to remember when you think of a will is think about this. The saying of where there's a will, there's a probate. It's just an easy way to remember it because
that's catchy.
A will, it does tell a judge where you want your assets to go, who you want to inherit your estate. But the problem with the will is it has to go through the probate court system. And so a judge has to approve the will, deem that it's actually valid or not. And then the probate process, in California, we have the most complicated probate process in the entire country. So if you've got your estate, you're passed away. So some people say, what do I care? It's my kid's problem. But, that's kind of short-sighted. because if your estate is going through the probate court system, you're looking at probably about a 2-year long process. You're looking at probably about $40,000 in costs and fees, depending on what the value is. And then you're putting your kids through having to go through the court
I
system.
was going to say about a headache, and stress. Yeah.
And the probate court system in California, it's hard enough for attorneys to get through it. It's almost impossible for somebody without an attorney to successfully get through the probate court system, without having huge nightmares and headaches.
Right. So the trust kind of spells out everything, where the assets go, who gets what, and maybe timeframes.
All of that, and it avoids probate. So that's the critical reason to have a trust is you're going to be, like you said, spelling out who you want inheriting assets. But the other part of it is once you pass away, everything's going to avoid the probate process. And so that's one of the big things of the trust. And then to go back to your question, what do you put in the trust? So you definitely put properties in the trust. Other assets can trigger a probate. For example, let's say you've got life insurance and you don't have beneficiaries on it. And it happens quite a bit. You would think, well, why would I ever not have a beneficiary on my life insurance policy? Well, a lot of times somebody will create a life insurance policy in their 20s or 30s and they're married without kids. And then they forget all about it. Sure. And so you name your spouse. So perfect, no problem. But then spouse predeceases you. And now you got 3 kids, but you've essentially, in a way, disinherited them because you named only your spouse. You didn't name them. And so that has to go through the probate court system because there's no beneficiaries. And there's that basically a contract between you and the life insurance company with nobody for the life insurance company to divvy out the money to.
Yeah.
So somebody's got to go through the probate court process to have the court decide, who's going to be inheriting. So that's another asset you want in the name of the trust. And then bank accounts can trigger probates. So if you've got too much cash, hey, what a problem. I got too much cash. But yeah, if you've got too much cash in the bank without beneficiaries, that can trigger a probate. Investment accounts, those can trigger probates. You want those in the name of the trust. So yeah, a lot of different assets that you want titled in the name of the trust, not just to avoid probate, but also what happens if you're incapacitated.
Yeah.
And so you need somebody to be able to access your assets if you're incapacitated to be able to take care of you.
Would that be like a trustee?
Exactly.
Co-trustee?
Successor trustee.
Successor trustee.
Yeah. So when you set up your trust, you're the trustee of your own trust. But you want to nominate who's going to be your successor, who's going to be the person in charge when you're gone or if you're incapacitated. And so having a trust asset allows that person, that successor, to be able to have easier access to those assets if you're incapacitated than if you don't have them in the name of the trust.
Right. So when we did my wife and I, we did our trust, our kids were minors, and at the time, my sister was in the business, and she was the, I don't know, what's it called? Successor trustee, just in case something were to happen to my wife and I? Okay.
Yep.
And then we didn't do anything for a long time. And then we kept thinking about, well, we need to update this. We need to update this. Because time goes by and you accumulate more things and the kids are no longer minors. You don't really need somebody else, unless you want them to be in charge of the trust. And Andy sat down with us. It was earlier this year. And then we updated a whole bunch of things and accounts and properties and things. Some of it was automatic, I want to say, because I had that term called a pour over will, and I had read about it in real estate, and it's like, what? Do I have a pour over will? And he goes, yeah, you do. And I said, but I don't know how to go find it in there.
Yeah.
Does it automatic in a trust that somebody's will has that attachment, a pour over portion?
No.
Oh.
And that's where you got to be careful with who you're working with. You'll be driving down the street. Literally, if you drive down the street today, you'll find some telephone pole that's advertising a $699 trust, $699. So I bet you that trust doesn't come with a pour over will. And the pour over will can be critical. It can be super important. You've got a lot of clients will come in and we're going over their documents and we'll go over the trust and then we'll have them sign their pour over will. And they say, well, wait a minute, I've got the trust. I thought I didn't need the will. This is the whole reason why I'm doing the trust. You told me the will wasn't enough, but they can work together. And so the importance of that pour over will is the way we describe it is it acts like a safety net or a backstop, behind a catcher in a baseball game, where let's say you do have that asset. Let's say you've got an investment account worth $500,000. You pass away. You don't have beneficiaries on it. It's not in the name of the trust. It's going to trigger a probate. So now somebody's going to have to go to court, spend $30,000 doing a probate. But if you've got a proper pour-over will with the necessary language in the trust, which that 699 trust won't have either, we can go to court and avoid a probate. And so it's a lot easier, faster, cheaper method. It's not an excuse not to have your assets named in the trust, but it's a way to avoid a probate. And so that's where be very careful with who you're working with. It's absolutely true in the legal field. You get what you pay for.
Yeah. And I always thought that if we're not here, my wife and I are somehow deceased, and the kids have access to the trust and all of our properties, and then it has to, if it goes to court for some reason, then you would be able to explain everything that was in there, right?
Right.
And then I'm not sure if that 699, if there'd be anybody there, or even if that's,
Absolutely not. That 699 trust is a ticket to probate court, and you're going to have nobody helping you.
All right. Is that well, there's a 699 probate. There's a probate.
Yeah.
One of those things.
Absolutely. Yeah. So be careful.
Yeah.
And when you come in and talk to us, we typically don't charge you for the initial meetings. If you've got an existing estate plan in place, you want somebody to take a look at it, bring it in. We don't charge you to take a look at it.
That's good.
And those are really important because there are so many times where, let's say you had a trust created in the 90s. Trusts in the 90s were created differently than they are today because you've got the inheritance tax issue that's different what they were in the 90s than what they are today. And so when you've got a husband and wife that have a trust created in the 90s, and it's set up in a way so that when the first spouse passes, the surviving spouse has to split assets, and it's an absolute headache. It's expensive. And so in the 90s, that's how trusts were prepared. Today, that's absolutely not needed. And so if both spouses are alive today, we can amend the trust to take care of that mandatory split. But a lot of those trusts were created where it says when that first spouse passes, the surviving spouse doesn't have the ability to amend it at that point as far as that split. And so they're forced to do it. But if you come in today and we're able to get rid of that split, that's mandatory, we can get into a pretty standard estate plan that we're doing now, avoid that split, save a lot of headache, a lot of cost for the surviving spouse. Yeah. So if you can come in and we can catch it now before the first spouse passes, it's going to save a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of headache.
Right. And things change over time. And like I was saying, with our trust, we didn't wait too long because nothing happened. But how often should somebody come in after they have a trust to get it reviewed and say, do I need to change anything? Do I need to move things out in or whatever?
What we do is we recommend every 3 years. And I think what we do is a little bit different than a lot of attorneys. A lot of attorneys will create the estate plan, go over it with you, have you sign it. They'll walk you out the door, pat you on the back, and tell you, good luck in life, buddy. But we want you to come back because we know how important those reviews are. And so what we do is we actually reach out to our clients every 3 years to do a review. If you want to do a review sooner than that, no problem. We don't charge you for those reviews because we want to review your assets. We want to make sure you followed our instructions about what should be titled in the trust. Assets that aren't in the trust, make sure you got beneficiaries on them. We want to make sure to avoid a probate. And so that's where those reviews are really important. And they're not long. It's like just a quick little visit, 20 minutes. It's like going to the doctor, just getting a checkup.
It's faster.
And so a lot of times we'll just tell you, less painful, no shots.
Yeah, right.
And so, we'll just tell you, hey, everything looks great. You get a gold star for getting everything in there and having beneficiaries. But a lot of times we'll catch issues, or a lot of times they have new issues that have popped up, new assets. Or you've got children that have some new issues that they didn't have when the estate plan was created. And so that's where the trust can be so helpful, where, it's easy to have everything just go to the kids, in equal shares. But let's say you have a child who, has some troubles. And for a child to inherit a large sum of cash could even potentially be dangerous for them. Or they could blow it quickly, not make smart decisions. So a trust can be set up to avoid those situations, to provide that inheritance to that child either in a safe way or a smart way, have somebody overseeing it for them for a while. So that's where the trust can be really important too, something that a will can't do.
Very good. Well, getting back to probate. So I've had a couple probates in my real estate career, and they're all different, right? They're all different. So I never had one that went 2 years. I did have one that was like about a year, 9 months to a year long, and then we sold the property. And then my favorite one, and I forget what it's called, when the person overseeing the will or the probate has a certain kind of capacity, and it's called
They're usually called the personal representative, executor, administrator.
Executive administrator, and they've got full power. I suppose you don't need the judge to step in and say that we have to probate this, and then it goes through the whole process.
Yeah.
And and I've had a couple of those. It seems like they were set up, say, properly, that they could liquidate the asset and sell the house in a relatively short amount of time.
Yeah, that's full IAEA authority.
IAE stands for?
Don't ask me that.
Something that they have full authority.
Full
That's
authority.
what I call it. I was trying to get what that name was, full authority, as opposed to limited authority. And then that's huge when you're trying to liquidate property.
It makes it so much easier.
And on top of everything else, the real estate market's changed, right? So, I mean, everybody knows right now we're kind of in a flux, right? They got the higher interest rates. They got inventories going up a little bit. So if you wanted to sell a house, say you're a year ago, okay, you probably could have got more for it than if you had to probate it and then sell it today.
Right.
So, and all that stuff, people don't think about that, and it's very important.
Right.
It's like, well, we'll get to it when we get to it. You can. You could get less for it. Now, if you did it in 2021, 22, and it took a year, then you are the beneficiary of appreciation. But there's no guarantee on that. Nobody has a crystal ball to figure out where the market's going to be. So the sooner the better.
Right.
Yeah. And the other things come up too. I mean, and I've seen this. I'll get back to you. If a house is in probate, typically, not always, is vacant.
Right.
And then the house is vacant for a long time. Bad things happen to vacant houses, and we try to sell them before anything seriously happens to them. And when you've got a 1 year, a 2 year probate,
scary.
Stuff's going to happen almost always. So, yeah. So that probate timeline was like, 'cause sometimes it's the long ones, 2 years. Have you been involved in any of those long ones, or what?
Those are typically just the contested ones. I don't think you've dealt with one where you've got kids arguing over mom and dad's money, but that can take a while. Especially if you're having a trial. You got a probate trial, you're looking at years, and it can be very complicated. Never know what a judge is going to do. So that's where we want to keep everything out of the court system. And that's what a proper estate plan can do. Because the minute you step foot in court is the minute you lose control.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And when we were doing ours, there's other people involved in proper estate planning. So we had our financial advisor in there. We had our CPA in there. And then we didn't have to sell any properties. So nobody's deceased. They're not liquidating any assets. But how do you work with those other entities, the certified public accountant and the financial advisor? The trust.
They're all really important to have as a team because your CPA, your tax person, is going to tell you how to save on taxes. Your financial advisor is going to be advising you as far as how to invest your accounts, but they're going to be the ones, they have a really important role. They got to make sure you have beneficiaries on accounts that need them, make sure the accounts are titled properly.
Right.
But then the advisor is also there. If they're good, they're able to give you proactive advice, because a lot of what estate planning does is also saving taxes. And so we educate our clients about what methods there are to save on taxes. We want to make sure our kids save taxes. We don't want them subject to inheritance tax.
So how does that work as far as estate planning, minimizing taxes down the road? So
I was talking about how in the 90s trusts were prepared differently than they are today. So back in the 90s, there's what's called an inheritance tax exemption amount. And so that's how much can you leave your kids without them having to pay any inheritance tax. And that inheritance tax is a big issue because it's a 40% tax. It's a huge tax.
Yeah, it's huge.
So if your kids are inheriting $1 million, and they have that 40% tax, they're losing almost half of it to taxes. So we want to avoid that tax as much as possible. Today, for most of us, we don't have an inheritance tax issue, because in the state of California, there is no state inheritance tax for now. There's a lot of states that do have a state inheritance tax. Plus, you have the federal inheritance tax, and so it's kind of like income tax. You got the state tax, you got the federal tax. In California, we don't have a state inheritance tax, but we have the federal inheritance tax. With right now, is $15 million.
Oh yeah, that's good
per spouse.
Oh,
so if you handle it correctly,
yeah.
And so a lot of us don't have that issue, but we don't know. That number always changes. And so back in the 90s, that number was $1 million or 600,000, and so that's where it was capturing a lot more people having to manage estate planning in a way to avoid or at least significantly eliminate inheritance tax for the kids. So that's where that special planning is needed, where you've got that split I was talking about. But today with that $15 million exemption, that's absolutely not needed for a majority of us. And so that's where proper planning, you get your CPA involved, you get your financial planner involved, you get your estate planning attorney involved, and you can really formulate a plan if you've got inheritance tax issues to significantly reduce or completely eliminate inheritance tax, even if you're over that exemption amount.
Wow, that's great. One thing I was thinking about before we met today was the power of attorney. And certain people, the executor, the co-executor, the
Trustee?
And there's different kinds of power of attorney. So which one do they need? Because I know that on the real estate side, when we have an escrow opened, the escrow officer is going to need a document. If a person is deceased or incapacitated, they're going to need somebody that has, if it's durable, general, specific. How does that work?
So estate planning in general, the documents you're going to have the trust, but you're also going to have the will. You're going to have the financial or durable power of attorney. So that's going to be nominating somebody who's going to manage your finances for you if you're incapacitated or unable to do it.
Okay.
You're also going to have the advanced healthcare directive. So that's nominating somebody to make medical decisions for you if you can't make them yourself. You'll have the HIPAA authorization, allowing who you want to be able to access medical information for you if somebody, a nurse or a doctor is really adhering to the HIPAA laws, which they're supposed to. You'll have the nomination of conservator form. Typically, we'll do a community property agreement if there's a spouses. And then you've got deeds to properties, so deeding properties to the trust. So those are really the main documents in the estate plan. So talking about the power of attorney, that's a critical document if you're incapacitated. Or even if you're not incapacitated, you just need somebody to help you with your finances.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the perfect example of how a financial power of attorney can be super helpful. It's my own family. And so my dad passed away. My mom moved to Michigan to be closer to my sister. We found a really nice retirement community for her to move to. But she still had bank accounts in California. And, sometimes lawyers are the worst clients. And so, I was, my dad was obviously managing, all of the accounts for both of them. And so my mom had ended up, after he passed, she had an account that was outside of the trust. And so it was going to create problems if we didn't get it titled in the trust correctly. But she was in Michigan. It's a California account. And so I was able to use her financial durable power of attorney, where I was named as her financial agent, go to the bank, take care of that bank account on her behalf. So that's how powerful, how critical that document can be, where it doesn't require you to be incapacitated if it's set up that way. Others require incapacity. But that's just an example firsthand of how useful that can be, and how the estate plan in general can be. It can just, no matter what, there's thousands of scenarios that estate plan can help you through.
Right. And we had talked about this once before on accounts that are out there and may have not been accounted for in the trust. What happens to, say, I have a bank account I didn't tell anybody about, or I forgot to put in the trust? What happens to that?
Well, that's where communication is important. And again, after my dad passed, it kind of fell on me to handle a lot of these issues. And, he wasn't the most open, even though he and I spent every single day together. So I had a pretty good idea of what he had going on. But, there were still some accounts, some policies out there that he really hadn't communicated much about. So it was a little bit of a hunt. We eventually were able to account for everything. But that's where communicating with your kids or your successor trustee, what are the assets? Where are they located? If there's passwords that are needed, what are those passwords? You don't want to put those out in the open, but yeah, make sure you communicate well. Make sure that they know what the assets are, because the worst feeling in the world is wondering, shoot, did I miss something?
Yeah.
Is there something floating out there? There are some sites that you can go to where you can find, accounts that you're entitled to money from.
I've heard about them.
And I wish I could remember the website.
We're gonna put them in the links below when at the podcast, so we don't have to remember them here. They'll be in there later.
It's kind of like a slot machine. You go, you punch in your information, and I think right now I'm owed like $25. So it's just not enough to warrant me going through the trouble of filling out the forms. But there was somebody that I know, I told them about it, and they were owed like $800.
Oh.
So I'm still waiting for that dinner. I mean, they owe me something.
For sure.
Come on.
Yeah, and I have a friend that the son and the mom are left. And I was thinking that he may have had some accounts in like the stock market, maybe some shares of something out there. And then he passed. And I'm not sure if they ever got cashed in or not.
Yeah, it gets turned over to the state. And I've got it bookmarked. That's why I can't remember what the website is. But when I get to the office, I'll email that over to you.
And then is there a time frame where this money sits in there until it's maybe 5 years, 10 years?
I don't think so. I'm not 100% certain.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. That's good for anybody.
Yeah.
Just to go to this. We'll put the link in and go to that, and you punch in what, your name,
your name, your address. It's just fun. It's a fun little game to play.
And then nobody's tracking you. It's just going to see if maybe you're owed something that you didn't know.
Yeah.
How does that system know?
Well, it's I think I'm owed some money from like a bank or something like that. So I may have closed out an account and there was some extra money in it I didn't know about. And so the bank has to do something with it. And so they just turn it over to the state. The state manages it until somebody claims it.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. That's a topic that we hadn't anticipated getting into today.
No, I know.
It's kind of fun though.
That is fun. What else we got to talk about here? You know what? You guys have seminars on a regular basis, and I think you said monthly or something like that.
Yeah, monthly. So we usually have them at the beginning of the month, and they're free to attend. They're held at our office, 963 West Avenue J, corner of 10th and J. So every month we have estate planning seminars where we go over, all of the intricacies of estate planning. And our goal is we like when clients come in and talk to us to already have a good idea of estate planning in general. And so that way we can have a much more fruitful conversation when we have that initial meeting. They've already thought about, well, who do I want to name as my successor trustee? Because it's an important role. You've got somebody there that's going to be managing your assets, distributing them to kids. You need to trust them with your money, basically. So it's a really important decision to make. So having that, conversation between spouses or just with yourself about, hey, who's a good person to put in that position? And then also knowing, how do you want your assets distributed? Who do you want making medical decisions for you? Do I have a child where either they have special needs? That's really important too. That requires some special planning. Do I have a child who I want to be careful with how they inherit? I want to set it up a certain way to protect them from themselves from it, protect them from others. That's another thing about estate planning is you can leave your estate to your kids where you're providing asset protection for what you're leaving them. I can't create asset protection for assets that I have myself, but I can create it for my kids when I'm leaving them. So that's protected from spouses, protected from lawyers, lawsuits, creditors, bankruptcy court. You can do some special planning where no matter what happens, what you're leaving your kids, somebody can take everything else that they own, but they can't touch what you're leaving them in an inheritance. So it's special planning that's necessary, but absolutely something that we love doing.
Oh, that's great. Now, I had heard that whoever's administering the trust, get them all mixed up, but the trustee, the executor, the executrix, whomever, that person could get paid for doing the work on behalf of the. How is that set up?
So you have control over that in setting up your estate plan. There's a provision in the trust that says, my successor trustee is entitled to, normally it'll say reasonable compensation. And so there's no statute that says what that is, but industry standard is typically between 1.5% of what the estate is valued at. So that can turn out to be a pretty substantial amount if you're dealing with, an estate that's worth quite a bit. I mean, it depends on what your definition of substantial is, but yeah, we had recently handled a trust administration that was it was valued at just under what that exemption was. So the kids almost had an inheritance tax issue, but they were able to avoid it. And so, you start doing the math.
That's good planning.
Yeah, that was excellent
keep it under
planning.
That threshold.
They were lucky that it was really just under it, but it was kind of a neat story to tell. But you can imagine, you do the math on that, and that 1.5%. And that was an administration that took a little bit of time because there was a lot of assets that had to be dealt with, and so that ended up being a pretty healthy check that trustee got.
I bet.
But she did a lot of work. She absolutely earned it.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine that happened. That he took care of his dad's estate, and when the mom passed, he goes, "I can't do it. It's just too much." So it's a lot of work.
A lot of work.
A lot of work, depending on probably the size of the estate.
But that's why we're here. We'll,
Yeah.
You come in and talk to us. We'll explain the process to you. And then if you want to get us involved, we relieve you a lot of that stress, a lot of that pressure, a lot of the headache. We'll take care of all of the procedural parts of it and make sure everything's done the right way. So you're feeling a lot better instead of having to rely on Google.
Yeah. Heard it on the internet. So, and those seminars there are free?
Free, absolutely free.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. So is there anything that we didn't cover today that you covered in the estate planning seminar that you want to cover?
I think we've pretty much covered it. Let's see. We've got a seminar coming up. Trump's Big Beautiful Bill. That's making some changes to small business owners. And so any small business owners that are out there, if you want to hear about, how that big, beautiful bill could be potentially impacting you, definitely check out our website. It's trusttvt.com. So TVT is in Thompson.
And we'll throw
Von
that
Tungeln.
in the links below as well.
So we've got those monthly seminars, and then every once in a while we have specialized seminars. The Big Beautiful Bill seminar is coming up, I think in a few weeks. But go to our website, and you can click on a link and sign up for one of those seminars. You do have to sign up early so you get a spot, because those are we usually have about 30, 35, 40 people there, and they fill up pretty quick.
That's awesome.
So make sure that you click that link, get yourself signed up, attend, and it's it's not the most exciting topic. I think it's exciting now just because this is what we do. We're passionate about it. But the seminars are put on in a way where the information you're going to be receiving is put out in a really informative, fun way. And so you're going to leave that seminar thinking, wow, I really did learn a lot. I've got a lot to think about, and it just gets you excited about estate planning, as strange as that sounds. But that's why we love doing it. It's fun. Everybody needs it, and so we're just out here helping people.
But it's helping your heirs and hopefully helping them to avoid or minimize taxes down the road, because that's like inevitable.
Yeah. Yep.
One thing we didn't talk about earlier, you were recently voted in as the president of the Antelope Valley West Rotary?
Lancaster West Rotary.
Lancaster West Rotary.
I am the current president. So that's a fun group to be a part of. Again, helping the community. Rotary, that's really what our goal is, either helping different local organizations financially, or going out and doing small projects. And so it's really an inspiring group to be with, where, it's people that take what they have and are willing to take that and help others. Yeah. And so, it's kind of the society these days, or how's it going to help me? And that's my bottom line. Is this going to help me? Is this not going to help me? If it's not going to help me, I'm not going to do it. But you get into a group of Rotarians, and one of their main focuses in life is how can I use what I have to be able to help others, whether it's through my time, through my finances, or just being there for somebody. And so that really is what Rotary is about. And so it's really a neat group to be with. So yeah, anybody interested in joining Rotary, send me an email, give me a call. We'd love to have you. So yeah, it's a fun group.
Very good. You know what's funny? It's like funny. It's I think part of the law of attraction. If you give, you receive. It doesn't work. You just keep giving, and nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
As you give, and unexpectedly, it'll come in. It'll come back, and it's just the weirdest thing. So I belong to different organizations over the years, and it's like that's just not even doing it on purpose to go get something. But if you do give, you almost always receive in one way or another, and it just may not be like for like. It's just maybe better health for your family. You don't know where it comes from. It's just a positive energy out there. So I think
study it in the Bible.
that's right.
Yes,
yes, for sure. A lot of that comes from the Bible.
That's pretty neat. My wife and I have a story to tell there, but I don't know if you want to get into it. But it's kind of about tithing with the church.
Okay.
So we're going to go from estate planning to church tithes.
Sure.
So I don't know how we got off on this topic.
I don't know. It's giving and receiving.
You're going to learn a lot about me that you weren't anticipating. But so Autumn and I, we got married. We're on our 17th year now. And so when we got married, we didn't have a lot of money. And I had, before we got married, I had a washer and a dryer set. So I brought it over into this new house that we bought. But I think it was the washer that broke. So you actually had to use a pair of pliers to turn it on.
Oh, yeah.
And so we were struggling. We didn't have money to buy a new one, so we were just dealing with the pliers. And so we went to a charity auction. And so she likes to get involved in, buying raffle tickets, things like that. And I never feel that lucky, so I'm always the Debbie Downer. I say, no, don't spend the money. And so she decides to buy a ticket. And it was probably 3 or 4 weeks before that we had sat down. We were attending a church regularly, and we decided, we're going to start tithing. And we had studied the Bible and what it was saying. And we didn't do it for the purpose of trying to get something back. It was just we felt that's where God was leading us. And so, yeah, we did it. As crazy as it sounds, you've got nothing, but now you're going to start giving, a portion of your income to the church or whatever group you want to give it to. And so, yeah, we started doing it. And so it was about 3 or 4 weeks later, we attend this auction, and Autumn buys this ticket against my advice. And she wins. And she won quite a bit of money.
Wow.
And so that's my story where, you read things in the Bible, God's leading you certain ways, but, the Bible is one of the few times God says, test me in this. Yeah. And we weren't testing him. We were just doing it. But, and so we did it, and it happened. And so that's my story about tithing.
Very good.
But absolutely. Give it a try.
Yes. I want to thank you so much for coming in. It was beneficial for me too. I know a lot. I know you. You've done our trust. If you need somebody to put your trust together, give him a call. He's a great person, and he's so smart. So thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So much.
It's been fun
for being on our show.
Yeah.
And as always, remember, for higher expectations and higher standards, choose the higher advantage, real estate, sales, and service. Take care. Be safe out there, and have a great day. Good job.
Thank you.